So something that I wanted to do since we started learning about the reinforcement learning was learn how to code my own game in Python using a module called Pygame, and then teach an AI how to play that game. It was a much bigger task than I thought I was setting out for myself, but I definitely had a lot of fun and learned a lot doing this. So I just wanted to give a little overview of kind of what I've done and what I've learned. So first, kind of the premise of the game that I created, it was just this little soccer game. So if we want to play it, basically there's a soccer ball that starts over here and it moves up and down. And then there's a goal on the right side that moves up and down. And then as the player, you can choose when to kick the ball. And if you score the goal, you get a point, and you can kind of keep going until you lose. So your score will become your high score. And then you can kind of try and rack up as many points as you can. And then eventually when you lose, that becomes your high score and you can keep playing. So that's kind of what the game is about. And then I really wanted to use this reinforcement learning kind of knowledge that we've gained to teach an agent how to play this. So I tried a lot getting the agent to play this version of the game with the goal moving and the ball moving, but it was not completing the training. So I scaled it back to a version of the game where the goal wasn't moving and kind of went from there. So there've been a lot of changes to the network, to the hyperparameters and the code and everything. So it's still a work in progress and it doesn't train very quickly or at all. But I just thought it would be cool to show you guys kind of what I've built and what it looks like kind of training an AI to do this. So if we go ahead and clear the screen and running the deep Q network version. So we've been using Q tables in class for our different assignments, but a Q network is kind of using that same principle, but instead of using the state action pairs to update a value in a Q table, we're using those state action pairs to update the weights of a neural network. And this is a version of the agent training to do this. So it might be a little choppy. I've also sped up the training process. I'm gonna move this real quick. Also, it gets really small and I couldn't get it to go kind of full screen size. But over here, if you can see it, the soccer ball is getting kicked. The first 80 or so iterations, every action is pretty much random. So an action consists of the ball either being kicked or not being kicked. And the state that gets passed to each step of the learning process is the y coordinate of the soccer ball and the y coordinate of the center of the goal. And over time, we use those state action pairs. So the state being those two coordinates and the action being kicked or not kicked, and getting a reward if we hit the goal, a negative reward if we miss the goal, and also a negative reward if the agent decides to stay on the starting line and not kick the ball, which did happen a lot during training. So as we can see, we're kind of nearing the edge of our random kicks now. So now we'll see that the agent starts to sit on the starting line a little bit more and choose when to kick. We can also see sometimes it stays on the starting line and decides to just stay there forever. So things like that, it'll time out and it will get a negative reward. So this is it continuing to just try and train. It's usually pretty boring. It usually doesn't complete or get anywhere close to optimal, but I will let it run for another couple hundred iterations and pop right back. Cool. So now we're back another 100 games or so later. And we can see that the agent's still pretty random. It's not really aiming towards the goal. It's not really taking its time. It's kind of back to where it was when it was randomly moving and just kicking immediately. So definitely a lot more tweaking to be done. I would let this run a little bit longer to show you all, but I really haven't had much success with it getting that much better. I've had them run for a couple hours sometimes and not really get all that useful. Also, I'm running out of time to turn in the discussion post. So I'm going to finish this up and turn this in. But if you guys are interested in how this works or wanted to kind of see where this goes, you can message me individually and maybe I'll put it in the like student section of the discussion boards if I get something to work. But if not, I hope you enjoyed watching me struggle and have a great day.